Did you know that over 73% of shoppers use multiple channels during their purchase journey? Yet only 22% of retailers feel they've nailed omnichannel integration. This gap presents a massive opportunity for scalable growth. So today we're thrilled to have industry leaders with us to discuss strategies, solutions, and real-world examples of how to bridge this gap effectively. But first, let's start with a quick poll. We'd love to know how far along is your brand in its omnichannel journey. You'll see the options on your screen now. Please take a moment to respond. It'll help us better understand our audience today. I would like to request everyone to please participate. We'll give everyone another minute to please submit their responses. Thank you everyone for participating. While the results come in, let me introduce our speakers for today. First, we have Anshuk Aggarwal, co-founder of AdYogi with over 10 years of experience working with D2C brands like Manevar, Rare Rabbit, Raymond, Blackberries, Westside, Shopperstop, etc. and managed ad spends worth over $100 million. Joining him is Saurav K, co-founder Mameto. Saurav is a dynamic and enterprising entrepreneur with a proven track record of leadership and innovation in the technology and e-commerce sectors. He has successfully built a premier e commerce building platform known for its innovative solutions that empower businesses to create seamless online storefronts and enhance their digital presence. With their combined expertise, we'll dive deep into how omnichannel commerce can become a scalable growth engine for your business. Without further ado, let's start with Anshuk. Over to you, Anshuk.
Thanks, Arlene. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Super excited to be part of the webinar today. This is actually the first time we are doing a webinar on Omni-Channel. If you had asked me 2 years ago or 3 years ago of Omni-Channel as a topic, I don't think so. At least I was thinking about it. I'm not too sure about Saurav. I'm sure Saurav will share his insights as well. But very excited today. I'm one of the co-founders of AdYogi. Last 10 plus years, I've personally worked in the e-commerce and D2C space with more than 200 plus brands. And I've also seen the ecosystem evolve very rapidly over the last couple of years. So 2018, 19, 20, we saw a lot of brands move on to Shopify. 2021, 22, during COVID years, we saw a lot of D2C brands starting to grow their Shopify stores. And last 2 years, we have seen a clear trend towards omni-channel. And more of our brands, which are D2C, are opening their stores. More and more of retail brands are focusing on having their own Shopify websites and scaling online, which is what has forced us to think omni-channel and take omni-channel seriously. And here we are having our first webinar on omni-channel, along with the Mameto and the AdYogi team. This is going to be the agenda for today. I'll try to keep it very concise, more focused on omni-channel marketing, because that is where sort of we come in at AdYogi. Of course, Saurav is an expert of building the omni-channel tech. So he will talk about some amazing success stories of how brands have leveraged tech to build the omni experience. In my presentation, I'll cover these 4 key aspects. What can a brand expect from omni-channel ads? We'll talk about Manyavar, one of the brands we have been scaling very aggressively on Omni. A little bit about why is Omni important. I have my own thoughts on why we are seeing the distinct wave of Omni come up, a phase-wise approach to Omni journey, which is going to be the crux of what we cover today. I'll try to give you clear actionables of how do you set up your first set of Omni campaigns. And towards the end, we'll talk about a little bit of recommended campaign structure on the Omni front. So this is a brief success story. Manyavar and Mohe, I spoke about it just before. They are very aggressive on Omni. 90% of their revenue, or rather 95%, comes from retail. D2C is a small portion at the moment in terms of percentages. And they have been scaling their omni-channel campaigns aggressively on Meta and Google. And what we realize is the Omni campaigns are driving them a massive footfall. So roughly 30,000 store visits in a couple of months. They're also seeing significantly lower cost per customer acquisition via their stores. And this is all on top of Meta and Google. So what we are going to speak about today will cover some of the best practices we have seen working with brands like Manyavar. Of course, we run Omni journeys for a lot of our other brands like Raymond, Bombay Shirt Company, and many other brands. So one question I think all of us keep coming across, I have personally, a lot of brands have reached out to me asking the same question on why omni-channel, right? And I will probably take a marketer's hat to it. I'm sure there are a lot more ways to look at omni-channel, but me being the marketer in me sort of sees everything from the marketing lens. There are 3-4 key reasons we are seeing. Number one is very plain and simple. The acquisition cost on Meta and Google for your D2C store has been on a steady uptrend. I'm sure many of you must be running ads on these platforms. You would have seen customer acquisition costs sort of go up in the last few years. And what we have realized is because of it, D2C PNL on its own is coming under a lot of pressure. I know I'm interacting with so many brands and everybody says that, look, my D2C PNL does not look very healthy. And so D2C as a standalone business is having a lot of headwinds. Right? What we also realize is when a brand goes omni, they may open a certain set of stores. So in many ways, they're adding a channel on top of what they already have, right? And they may not add additional marketing budgets behind the channel, but just because they have had a D2C presence, we have seen brands starting to get a lot of footfalls in their store, which effectively means that while the cost remains the same in terms of marketing, and adding an additional channel helps you drive incremental revenue. So overall, as a marketing cost as a percentage of revenue, your number starts to come down and your profitability looks much better. We've also realized that the mindset of D2C as a brand is actually changing off late. We've started to believe that D2C is not a brand, but D2C is just one of the channels, just like marketplace being another channel and offline being a third channel. So that's the sort of the larger direction we are seeing among our brands. Today, bulk of our top brands, most of them are omni-channel. These are either retail brands starting their online website, or these are online brands starting to have their own store presence. A very good case and example could be a brand like Malmal. So Malmal was an online first brand, very large women apparel fashion brand. And around 3 years ago, they started opening their stores and they realized that the combination of online plus offline is what is most profitable for them. So while that is sort of sorted, I want to today talk about the phase-wise approach to omni-channel marketing. And this is the anchor slide for today. I'll spend another 7-8 odd minutes covering these two phases. There are 3 phases we see any omni-channel brand enter the marketing. Phase 1 is very plain and simple. Whatever online campaigns the brand is running, they can continue to run the same campaigns, but they can start sending their offline data to Meta and Google using OCAPI and SSI. And I'll talk more about it in my subsequent slides. Phase 2 is when we recommend starting your Omni campaigns, where we say that now you can run specific campaigns driving footfall to your stores. And this can happen on Meta and Google both. Phase 3 is more advanced in the journey of omni-channel. Once a brand has done phase 1 and phase 2, they can actually run phase 3 campaigns optimized for store purchases, and they can also kick in something called local inventory ads. So I'll talk about phase 1 and phase 2 in detail today. We'll probably park phase 3 for our subsequent discussion, but happy to take up any questions during the Q&A as well. Let's jump straight into phase one. So phase one is simple. The brand is already running online campaigns on Facebook and Google. You are driving traffic to your D2C website. The campaigns are giving you online conversions. What we sometimes fail to realize is D2C is also acting like a branding channel. So the same set of ads and campaigns are also driving people to your stores. Now, last 1 year, Meta and Google have actually doubled down on their capability that they can actually now track offline conversions in online campaigns also. How can it be done? It can be done using offline CAPI. CAPI is Conversions API. I know many of you would have heard about Conversions API. This became quite popular in the last couple of years after iOS 14 changes happened. So Meta now says that instead of sending information from website to Meta systems via Pixel, brands can now send information from website to Meta via server to server integration. So think of it as very simple. The Shopify backend sends information to Meta backend, right? So that is CAPI. Now, what many people may not know is the same CAPI concept can be extended to the offline world also, which is called as offline CAPI or OCAPI. What that effectively means is the moment someone goes to the store and purchases something on the point of sale machine, the same data can now be sent to Meta and Google via the server to server integration. So instead of Shopify backend sending this information to Meta backend, it's your POS system backend sending this information to Meta backend. And that's offline CAPI. I know the schematic on the right might look a little intimidating, but that's exactly what it's trying to do. You pull data from backend API, from CRM systems like HubSpot and LeadSquare, from custom Excel sheets, get it all together, hash the data. PII, personally identifiable information, is not sent. Once this hash information is then sent to Google and Meta servers, and the moment you send this information, it gets attributed to the existing campaigns. So just like Pixel sends information, this is offline CAPI sending information. SSI is very similar to offline CAPI, but this is the terminology which Google has adopted. So SSI stands for Store Sale Integration. Once the two are done, there are some configurations which need to be done on Meta and Google. As you can see on the screen on the right, there is this tick mark put on offline events. So once we tick this offline events, Meta campaign starts to track offline events along with online events. So this is a very small configuration which needs to be done. It's like a one-time configuration. The same needs to be done on Google as well. Once this is done, this is the most interesting part. And we ourselves honestly have been working on this only for the last 12 months. But if you see on the screen, this is super exciting that you can now see offline purchases coming in your same set of campaigns. So if you see the first column, it says purchases, website purchases. I'm sure you see this in all your campaigns all the time. But look at the third column, it says offline purchases. And this is the magic of having the offline CAPI done. So you can see how many purchases are coming in your stores via these campaigns. And you can also track offline purchase conversion value in these campaigns. So this sort of summarizes the phase one, where we say that you don't need to start any new campaigns. You just want to make sure that whatever campaigns you're running on Facebook and Google for your D2C website, they start attributing revenue from your offline stores and offline campaigns. What's the benefit? If a brand is able to do that, there are multiple benefits. Number one, they can start optimizing their budget. So imagine your Bombay and Delhi campaign. They may have an online ROS of 3x, but guess what? They have an additional 2x ROS because of offline conversions. So you may want to increase your budget in your Bombay and Delhi campaigns. The second main benefit is now Meta has more data and Google has more data. Because they have more data, they can better optimize your campaigns. So overall, the online ROS will also go up now because their Advantage Plus campaigns will perform better. Their conversion optimization will perform better. So that sort of summarizes the phase one. I'll talk about phase two, but we have a very interesting poll coming up. Harleen, if you can just help us run this poll. So are you already running your omni-channel campaigns? Yes or no? It's a very simple poll. We'd like to hear from you as to have you run any of your Omni campaigns in terms of PMAX for store sales or hyperlocal campaigns on Meta or local inventory ads already for your brand.
Request everyone to participate and submit in your responses. We'll just give everyone another minute to submit their responses, Anshuk. So I can see that majority of our audience members have voted for no. So I think the strategies are really going to help them post this webinar. Yeah, over to you, Anshul.
Thanks, Arlene. And I'm not surprised at all. To be frank, omni-channel campaigns is also a relatively new unlock from Meta and Google. Like I said, we ourselves have been focusing on it only for the last 12 months. A lot of our omni brands have only started adopting these strategies in the last couple of quarters. So this is a great time to be talking about omni-channel ads. I do see there is going to be an early mover advantage for brands which are leveraging ads for driving offline conversions. So let me now jump into the phase two. Phase two is when we recommend starting omni campaigns. That is when the phase one is done. There are two kinds of campaigns which we recommend. One is hyperlocal campaigns on Meta, and the second is PMax for store sales. So many of you would have heard PMax. PMax is, of course, Performance Max, very popular campaign. But some of you may not know that Google also rolled out something called PMax for store sale. And this is specifically from an omni-channel perspective. So let me spend a few minutes on each of them. I'll try to keep it slightly less technical. So this is the Meta awareness campaign on the right side. So maybe you can just spend some time looking at this nice video recording. I'll see if I can sort of run it again. Yes, so this is how it looks. So you see an ad on Meta and Instagram. It says get directions. You click on the ad. You land it on Apple Maps if you are on Apple. On Google, it lands on Google Maps. And of course, people can click on directions. They can do other things once they land on the map. So this is an actual ad on Meta. We may not have seen many of these in our feed at the moment because not many brands are making the most of it. But this is run using PMax, using Meta awareness for store campaign. How does it look like? So very brief process how it can be done, fairly straightforward. Number one is data integration, which is the phase one, where you get the offline CAPI enabled. Number two is store details. So you can actually upload store details onto the Meta Business Manager. If you see on the screen, this is exactly what we have done. We have put the store code, we have put the store address, we have given the name of the store, we have given phone number of the store, and all these information is uploaded onto the Meta Business Manager. It can be done via an Excel. Once that is done, number three and number four are actually quite straightforward. Just like you create a regular online campaign on Meta, the same can be done as an Omni campaign on Meta. We can create a campaign, we can identify the right targeting cohorts, and we can select these locations and run the campaign. The point I want to highlight is the actual execution of an Omni campaign may not be very difficult in terms of setting up the campaigns. An interesting point there is once we run these campaigns, Meta actually gives a lot of in-depth data at a store level. So you can actually see out of the 15 stores which are running, which stores are getting how many impressions, which stores are getting how many clicks, what is the cost per click, how much money spent on each of the stores. So there is a lot of optimization which is possible once the Meta awareness campaigns for store is run. So you can always figure out how do you divert budget. You can always pick up stores which are newly launched and give bulk of your budgets there. You can pick up stores in North India, South India, East and West. You can pick up your slow-moving stores and run hyperlocal campaigns on top of it. The radius could be 10 kilometers, 15 kilometers. It could be the entire city as well. So it does not have to be that you run these campaigns across all the stores. We have seen brands identifying specific stores based on a problem which they want to identify and run campaigns on top of them. These are some of the best practices. Like I said, locations, we can be more intelligent about how do we pick up the locations. We can also run our regular remarketing campaigns on top of it. So imagine you can target someone who came to your website, did not complete the purchase, and you know that this person is in the vicinity of your store. So we can run an ad targeting this person, show him or her get directions, and divert them to the store. So the same remarketing options can be done on an Omni campaign as well. Attribution windows, we usually recommend it to be slightly longer because we know that unlike online where you click on an ad and you make a purchase at the same time, in an Omni campaign, the journey is longer. You may click on an ad, you may wait till the weekend, get your car out, and then actually drive to the nearest mall. In terms of creators, no sort of prizes there. Video content is what works best, but we've also seen images do well. We've also seen store-specific images and videos doing very well. So not only do you want to highlight your inventory, you can actually highlight your store videos and store images, and that we have seen works quite well. So that's the first part of the phase 2, where we say that you can run campaigns on Meta. But what is even more exciting in phase 2 is you can actually run campaigns on Google. And I personally believe I'm a bigger fan of PMax for store sales because Google has a deeper integration when it comes to location. And thanks to their Google Maps, which has been one of their hero products on Android at least. So PMax for store sales is highly recommended if you want to do the Omni journey. And I'll talk a little bit about how does PMax for store sale look like. So this is a snapshot of where do the ads appear. And I'll take a pause here, maybe just go through some of these. The first and the foremost is it shows on Google Maps. So if you just go to Google Maps and search for coffee nearby, search for buying a t-shirt nearby or a shirt nearby, Google has now started showing sponsored ads in Google Maps. And if you see the third from the left, it clearly shows coffee being searched. And you have this nice ad of coffee crumbs. And you can see ratings, you can see location, you can see get directions, you can call the store. You also have an option of ordering. So this is the most important ad which Google shows as part of PMax for store sales. Of course, there are other inventories where Google shows these ads also. Even on YouTube, Google shows these ads wherever location signal is passed from the user. The process to run PMax for store sale is fairly straightforward, but I want to highlight two things there. When a brand starts to run PMax for store sales, the first optimization goal is always get directions. So Google says that if you have to start the PMax store journey, start with optimizing for get directions. Once a brand is able to achieve certain number of get directions, that's when the second stage gets unlocked, where you can now start optimizing for store visits. Once a brand is able to get enough store visits and the SSI integration is completely done, then the third stage of PMax for store sale comes when a brand starts to optimize for store conversions. So that's basically the phase 3. But in phase 2, we just talk about optimizing for get directions and optimizing for store visits. So I would highly recommend for any brand which is starting to run Omni campaigns, get your get direction campaign up and running on PMax for store sales. It is a journey to get it up and running. Once you get it up and running, Google requires 30 days of get direction information, then it requires 30 days of store visit information. So think of it as a 3-month journey before you can get actually everything up and running. This is the kind of data which Google gives for PMax for store sales. Again, very, very granular level of data. We have seen brands leverage this data for their offline strategy also. So you can see at each campaign level, how many store visits have come, what is the store revenue has come if you're optimizing for store sales. But we can have granular information of cost per store visit at a campaign level and also do budget optimization based on cost per store visit. We also get information at a store location level. So for each store location, we can say how many store visits came. And this could be multiple stores in, let's say, New Delhi. So you will get store 1, how many visits came, store 2, how many visits came. Now, one key difference is store visits is tracked by Google, but store visits is not tracked by Meta. How can Google track store visits? Because they have Google Maps. Meta cannot track store visits right now because they don't have Google Maps. Meta can track store revenue based on POS data, or Meta can track get directions based on click on the ad. So that's also one more plus point what Google has on top of Meta. Just last couple of slides before, of course, I'll ask Saurav to pitch in. But these are some of the optimization strategies for Google. Couple of them. Number one, you can prioritize location groups. So instead of running in all locations, identify groups of locations, identify groups of stores you want to dedicate. We have seen that work quite well. There are optimization levers on PMax, just like search themes and custom intent audiences. They can be added to PMax for store sale campaign as well. And SSI integration is highly recommended, which is a part of our phase one, because then store information can start to be sent to Google. I want to definitely call out that all the information is hashed, so there is no risk of PII, personally identifiable information, getting leaked. So Google and Meta are very clear about hashing the information before we send across to them. So just a quick summary of what I wanted to cover today. These are typical campaign structure which we recommend for Meta and Google. On Meta, it's the awareness campaign, which we have seen sort of works really well. We can divide the awareness campaign based on zones, zone 1, zone 2, zone 3, zone 4. On Google, we recommend PMax for stores to start with first get directions. Again, we can divide based on zones, based on store locations. It can be optimized for cost per click. Then once it's white labeled, we recommend running PMax for store visits. Again, it can be divided by different zones, optimized for cost per store visit. So as you can see, over a period of time, optimization levers become more and more crisper. Eventually, you can also optimize based on ROAS once the store purchase data starts to come in the Google campaigns and in the Meta campaigns. That sort of summarizes it. This is my last slide for today. Happy to, of course, take more questions. But key takeaways. Number one, highly recommended to start sending offline CAPI and SSI information from your stores to Meta and Google. If anything, it will help us optimize our online campaigns also. And maybe we can better allocate our budgets based on online plus offline ROS. This is the phase one. Once phase one is complete, we recommend kickstarting Omni campaigns. Two campaigns, store footfall on Meta and PMax for store sale on Google. What next? Two specific things. This is a part of phase three, which we won't cover today. We can optimize PMax for store sales once it gets white labeled, and we can run local inventory ads. So just one line about what local inventory ads are. Some of you, this is very, very popular in the US. It's not so popular in India right now. But imagine searching for a product on Google. Let's say I search white t-shirt or white shirt. Today, it shows me all the listing from my Shopify store or from marketplaces. But Google has this capability of showing listing from your offline store as well. So you'll be able to see white shirt available, let's say half a kilometer away. And when we click on that, we'll be able to divert the user to the store. So think of it as shopping ads for your offline store. This is called as local inventory ads. Again, highly recommended for phase three of the journey. So that sort of brings me to the end of my section. We have a poll. I'll probably hand it over to Herleen and Saurabh to take it from there.
Sure. Thank you so much, Anshuk, for your amazing insights. So, before we bring in our next speaker, let's hear from the audience again. Here's a quick poll. So, what is your top priority for omnichannel commerce in the next 12 months? Request everyone to please submit in their responses. Just give another minute to our audience members, Saurav, for them to just participate in the poll.
Sure.
Request everyone to please submit in their responses. Thank you everyone for participating in the poll. Let's dive into how we can help each of you at different phases in your omnichannel journey. Now, I would like to invite Saurav to take us through the next session of the day.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Harleen, for calling me out. And Anshuk, thank you very much for such a deep, insightful session. To everyone who are attending it, I I don't come with all of these deep data. I very simple examples that we have been trying to do via Omni-Channel. You can all take inspirations from those brands and examples, and definitely on a different communication channel, I will be able to help you go deeper into it. Now, before I start to tell about me and Mameto, I'm Saurav. I'm the co-founder of Mameto. We are India's first Shopify Plus partner, and I have been in the space of e-commerce tech implementation for the past 7, 8 years now. I will start my presentation here. So now, what it talks about is, and what I will going to cover is the first thing is why omni-channel commerce. Definitely, Anshuk has shared the definition from a marketer's lens. I will pick it up from what it means when a technology team hears it or when a brand says it. We are also going to see some very quick, shorter implementation examples for bits of omni-channel across each brand, and then we also see where it stands today, how important, relevant, and resonating it stands for all of us. So yeah, why omni-channel commerce? The biggest lever is definitely revenue growth. If you see omni-channel shoppers spend more, they shop more through consistent channel of the brand. They purchase 70% more frequently and almost spend 30% more than an in-store or only a D2C site owner. So that's why they are one of our biggest levers for revenue growth in the coming future. Customer experience at the center, and this has been a talk of the town in terms of deliveries, how fast someone needs products to reach to them. Uh, it has reached to a stage where back in the days, at least I would say it from my home, my family would shop trolley bags 6 months advance when they would plan a travel. And now I feel that at least I live in Bangalore, and by the time cab comes, at the same time, a trolley bag also, if you can order from a store, would reach to your house. So that's the kind of delivery expectations that buyers now have. And all of these can only be possible if we have a omni-channel experience. Uh, Along with that, also a unified brand experience is now becoming very common. When there is less in terms of product differentiator, then there is always a scope of more in terms of what different experience do you give. I refer to McKinsey's 5 zeros reshaping stores theory, and all in those 5 zeros, the first three stands for channel, transactions, and waiting time. So consumers would have zero tolerance towards a difference in the channel of shopping for their brands. They would have zero tolerance if they would have to be assisted in making a transaction, and they would definitely have zero tolerance towards a delay in the wait time. All of these trends are just seemingly increasing from the past 2 years. And even like how Anshuk mentioned that if you would have asked us 3 years back what omni-channel would have meant, we would all have been fragmented. But yeah, looking at the cohesive behavior of consumers now, this is what the trend is going to be. So yes, getting into some quick examples. Here is a brand called Epigamia. A lot of my examples may look very simple onto the screen because there is a lot of mechanism of backend involved, and hear me out carefully. Now, what you see here may look like a very simple pin code mapping, which looks, hey, this existed. But let me tell you the backend story of it. Epigamia as a product is here. All the locations and stores of the particular pin code have a real time inventory in their stores. And when you enter a pin code on their Pigamia store today, the entire inventory refresh happens in real Kata for your house. It will exactly pick up every inventory from a nearest store in Kolkata from where this product can get delivered. And that is a lot of activity when it is done across the entire country. So this is one example where they're trying to leverage their offline inventory to fulfill products at a faster pace, at a faster rate. A very simple, a very matching example could be from this brand called Gadre Marines. Exactly the same example. If you are shopping for Bombay, they would leverage their inventory based to the nearest pin code in Bombay and get it delivered from there. This will help them not only help you get a faster delivery, but also have them liquidate their offline stock in the right method. While these on the online storefront, they may look like mere pin code implementations, but beware that there is a lot of backend logistics and management involved for all the teams to also keep mapping their inventory, have a sync of all their real-time inventories, and then map it with the pin code that we try to enter. Moving on to another example for National Miles, a very famous brand. If you look here on the screen, you can see that it's also available at a store near you. You enter a postal address and it will show you what the nearest store is. You can even go for directions, search the store, reach there. You can even call the store, get the product. At a while at the implementation level, this may look easy, but now understand the Omni part of it. If you really track how many people get through the directions, reach the store, if you really track how many people call and get the product from there, or even how many people actually search a postal code, it gives you a lot of behavior analytics that how many people really want to shop from there. So this is one of the another example that provides very real-time information on your nearest store availability when you add a product to the cart. Let's pick up another big brand, Raymond. Now, the implementation here works on, if you see, Raymond has got a lot of child brands, Park Avenue, Color Plus, Parks. Now, the implementation here talks about all of these brands are independent standalone brands with their necessary and right team members. What they do is all these team members for their particular brand have a real-time tracking of their inventory. All of that gets pulled onto their main custom brand of My Raymond. And when you want to browse through what is available for Parks, you have a real-time inventory there. What is available on Color Plus, you have a real-time inventory there. But yes, when you want to shop for it, it will all redirect you to the My Raymond from where they have sorted their procurement, fulfillment, and ordering system. So what happens is it allows multiple brand partners online, offline, in real-time channel up to upload their inventory. It helps the visitors also have a check on what is available real time with the brand and helps you shop for it. If we go towards another example called TBS, while this example right now is still a good work in progress, let me give you a sneak peek of what they are aiming to do. It's the same offline inventory liquidation. What happens is there are a lot of stock of products available at their distribution centers or their showrooms. What they say is that we are understanding a pattern of online shopping. People are even shopping their entire bathrooms online. People are shopping cement bags online. So it is no difficult. People are going to shop all of these bigger categories. What they do is they help you explore those categories from their offline warehouses and their offline showrooms. And if you want to procure them, same model. They have their locations stacked, they have their offline inventory stacked there, they will help you deliver from there. So even as big as a brand like TVS would give you hyper local delivery fees when you want to order something for your bike. Next, when we come towards this was a lot of consumer facing examples. I would talk something about how brands are leveraging technology and trying to have a seamless experience. If you look at Levi's, what we have done is they had a lot, and I would say a really lot of data sets and dashboards and tools and systems in their online and offline teams. They would want to see all of those reports together. And what we did was we combined their entire dashboards to give them single view towards what the P&L of a store, of a unit, of a location looked like. And that was a combination of clubbing a lot of data from their online stores, clubbing a lot of data from their offline stores together that could dynamically, sitting at one location, give them a view when they want to look at their planning site. This helped people across different positions to understand data at a very, very singular level. When we talk about BlackBerry, if you see, a lot of products in BlackBerries would require a bit of a tailored approach for you to procure. What BlackBerries used to do is, for a lot of categories, when you would order from the BlackBerries online store, you may get a call from the nearest offline store basis of the pin code, and they may ask you that if the product is very, very tailored, they may ask you to come have a visit and get your custom tailored product on. It is also suited for a lot of categories where you are very made to measure kind of a category, because in suits and a lot of other categories you would not like to have some standard sizing available. So they use this experience to club their offline and online storage space together. When we talk about another brand called Quicksilver, what they do is a single gift card, and there are multiple use cases. It was earlier that channels were very defined for your usage of gift cards and vouchers. Now what Quicksilver is trying to do is to minimize that experience. So let's say if you are a bulk in stock product owner, and let's say if you own a Quicksilver gift card, no matter where you shop from the bulk in stock product, whether it's their online stores or their different offline centers, you can avail and redeem your gift cards partially and fully. So these are some examples across consumers, some examples across brands, some examples across different systems, all moving their food towards their omni-channel experience. Now, as Anshuk mentioned, and I would like to even assert on it, that we are still scratching the surface for omni-channel because no one has cracked it all. If you look at it today, it's the adoption for omni-channel from a technology standpoint is hardly across 15%. And ignore us, even McKinsey has done a very thorough audit to derive here. Why this challenge is? The challenge is because it's a, I would say from a Indian e-commerce spectrum, it's a chicken egg problem, that the implementation of it is difficult from the point of getting all the systems that are integrated in an e-commerce have a common product or services roadmap, because there are so many pieces involved in it, and that's becoming a barrier for implementation. So that is how we are all trying to break it brick by brick, layer by layer, and trying to have that, okay, we can have omni-channel much more steady, much more longer and bigger and better examples in the coming future. We are all working towards it. We would love to have brands connect with us, and we can help them understand at what space and what examples of omni-channel they can implement on their store that can help them in a different way. Yes, thank you. I will pass it on to Harleen from here to take it ahead.
Sure. Thank you so much, Saurav. To help you get started with your own omnichannel strategy, we've created a comprehensive ebook, Omnipresence, the Future of Retail. Saurav or Anshuk, if you can just please share your screen, and attendees can scan the QR code to download the ebook.
I can do that. Yes.
Sure. The audience members can download it right now by simply scanning the QR code on their screen. It's packed with actionable tips, case studies, and tools that will help them make the most of this opportunity. So request everyone to go ahead and scan it, please. I'll just give everyone a minute to scan the QR code, and then we'll open the floor for questions. We'll now open the floor for the questions. I request everyone to please submit their questions in the Q&A box, and Anshuk and Saurav can then take them up for you. Saurav, I think we have one question for you. Epigamia and Gadre have their EBOs or their local warehouse distributor inventory. Is it integrated for local delivery?
So to help you understand, it's not integrated specifically for local delivery. So what it does is it's integrated. We have a middleware where all of these centers are tied up, which has their usual delivery pattern. So when you enter a PIN code, basis of that, it actually triggers and understands what is the local delivery timeline. Now, since the stores are already in the nearest PIN codes, it gives you a delivery time which is comparatively shorter, unlike the quick commerce pattern. We pull the data from there, and that's what is automatically displayed on the e-com store. Hope this answers.
We have another question. What can be the strategy for a D2C brand selling in multi-brand outlets? Anshuk, would you like to take this one up?
Yes, of course. Yes, I can take that. I think that's a good question. MBOs usually, this is a question I've come across previously also. So there are two things which can be done. If there is a POS integration which is possible, then we would highly recommend doing the POS integration and offline CAPI and SSI into Meta and Google. But if it is not possible, there are ways where manual upload can also be done. And we have seen brands which do a manual upload once a week, sometimes even once a month, from the MBO data or from any offline data onto Meta and Google. And of course, it can be done in a privacy-friendly manner. So for MBOs, I feel that this is something which can be done. I also saw a question from Shipra again, that what if we don't get data of customers from these MBOs? If we don't get data, then my suggestion would be that we can still run get direction campaigns. So like I said, PMAX for store sales starts with get directions. So we may still be able to run get directions. We may still be able to run store visit campaign, because store visit campaign does not depend upon customer data. The way Google is able to track store visit is based on Wi-Fi triangulation and cell phone data and location signals from Google Maps, none of which is dependent on MBO data or customer data. So PMAX for store sale for get direction and store visit can be done. Meta get direction campaign can be run. The only thing which we may not be able to do is optimize for purchase, but that could be, I would say, a latter priority. Back to you, Harleen.
Sure. So we have another question. How does one track conversions at MBOs?
Yes, I can take that up as well. So for MBOs, if we are not able to get POS data, point of sale data, and if we don't get customer data, then there is no way to track conversions. You can track footfall, you can track get directions. If there is any way we can get email ID or phone number of customers, either in an online manner, offline manner, Excel sheet manner, download manner, we will still be able to upload this information onto Facebook and Google, and we will be able to track conversions. So it's important to get at least one identifier of a customer to be able to track conversions. In the absence of any of the identifiers, we will be able to restrict to only get directions or store footfall.
Got it. Saurav, we have one question for you. For an Omni brand, whose major offline presence is through LFS like Shopper Stop or Lifestyle, and how will the inventory data be synced with the D2C channel?
Okay. So yeah, people often confuse that all the datas will be synced on one particular channel, whether it could be the D2C or other tool. In order to give an omni-channel experience, what we have been at least seen work well, and there are a lot of tools where all the central data applications can happen. But what we have seen is each companies use very, very different tools in order to record the sales and transactions. What we try to do is set up a middleware that actually takes up all of these datas, either from their D2C or from the other sources of channel, centralize it to that middleware, and then the necessary communications that are required to in order to sync in the D2C channel are then passed through it. So the central repository of an omni-channel commerce is not that only your D2C channel becomes a central repository. Ideally, a middleware becomes your central repository, and then from there, write the form of personalizations to actions to access to be given, not given, is all passed through. Simple example very recently could be something like a cult fit, where whether you shop from their different channels, your account gets a sync of all of the products shopped. Very, very recent implementations. You can maybe you can still experience it. We can have a separate call with you to guide you through. There, a middleware becomes a central source of truth, and then it accordingly transfers data across multiple channels. Thank you.
Right. Another question which we have is for MBOs also, how can GD and store visit campaigns be done if we don't have the GMB? Is that necessary for Meta and Google hyperlocal ads?
Yes, I can take that up. So for Meta, it's not necessary because Meta campaigns, we're only tracking the click to get directions, and it works both on Google and Apple Maps. So Google My Business GMB listing is not necessary for a Meta hyperlocal campaign. For Google, this is a very interesting question, because Google relies heavily on signals from GMB, Google My Business. It's important to have GMB if you want to run Google hyperlocal ads. The catch there is for running the get direction campaign, it can still be run. We can still run a get direction campaign, but the moment we want to track store visit, linkage to GMB is very important. Now, I don't particularly know that if you don't have GMB, then can you run a Google get direction campaign or rather store visit campaign? That's something which I'm not fully aware of it. Most of the brands where we have run store visit campaign, we have access to their GMB, but we can pick that as a question. Happy to reconnect offline and see if something can be worked out. We of course have support from our Google Partner Manager. We are one of their preferred agencies, so we should be able to get some response on that.
Got it. So Anshuk, we have one more question. What is the best practice of remarketing online customers to offline stores?
So this is again interesting. So like I said in my presentation, you can actually do that. So people who have added a product to cart, people who have viewed a particular product and not completed the purchase. Today, most of the brands do dynamic remarketing. We show them an ad on Facebook and Google, and we bring them back on the website. It's a valid question that should we now show them a get direction campaign or should we not show them a get direction campaign? So our recommendation is these are people in the purchase funnel. They have dropped out of the funnel. So we would recommend running both types of campaign on them. One is dynamic remarketing, taking them back to the website. But also if they happen to be in the vicinity of a store, then we recommend running an Omni campaign and take them to the GMB listing or the get direction page. The reason being that typically these are hot leads, if I may call so. We want to target them at a higher frequency. Generally, our recommendation is to target them at least 3 to 4 times over a week duration. So it's a good idea to target some of the ads diverting to online, some of the ads diverting to offline, so that if the person is more likely to convert offline, we'll still not lose that lead and we'll be able to get that conversion in the offline store.
Thank you so much, Anshuk. If anyone would just like to ask any other question, we'll just give them another minute. Thank you for such an engaging session, Anshuk and Saurav, and a big thank you to our audience for their active participation. Before we wrap up, Here's your next step. If you'd like to scale your omnichannel strategy, you can book a consultation with our experts from AdYogi or Marmeto. Just click the link shared in the chat. Once again, thank you everyone for joining us today. Stay tuned for more insights in such webinars. Have a great day.